Hey, Zach here from Frontenac Outfitters Canoe and Kayak Center. Today we're having a look at one of my favorites, the Jackson Kayak Kuza FD. So this is the new Kuza FD using the Mark IV pedal drive, which is a belt drive system, which is a significant upgrade to their previous version, which was using a gearing system. It's much smoother, much quieter, and so far the results, it feels faster. I haven't GPSed this compared to the old one, so it's kind of anecdotal, but it does definitely feel faster and smoother than the previous drive, which is all good things. So starting up here at the very bow, we've got our drain plug here on the bow, which I think it's okay. I don't really use a drain plug too often on the fishing kayaks. They're just so heavy to try and tip up to actually utilize the drain plug. Generally, I'm going to use a sponge or a bilge pump or something if I get a significant amount of water inside of the boat. Moving back, we've got our fabric carry handles here, heavy duty, installed, mounted right into the boat here. They are replaceable if you need be, but these are super supportive. They're going to handle the weight of the boat, carrying from the front or back, or if you're using a cart, you can just grab a hold of this handle and move it around. We've got our front hatch here. Uses a couple of nice secure clips to keep that in place. It also has our paddle park on here, so we can tuck a paddle in underneath of that, and that's going to hold it securely in place so you don't have to worry about it falling overboard. Flip open the lid. Got a nice heavy duty gasket all the way around, and that's going to help keep any water from getting inside the hatch. It's not totally foolproof, but you know, in choppy conditions, any water kind of splashing over the deck, that gasket's going to keep a majority of that water from getting into your bin. We have a removable storage bin, and then we have access into the hull. Lots of access in here. There's tons of space. You know, you can get camping gear in there, day gear, batteries, whatever you need. There's a lot of customization that can take place in rigging out this kayak in the way that you want it to do. I have camped out of the Kuza FD, and it's a great boat, can take a ton of gear, so you can go out for a mission for the weekend and yeah, have everything you need inside and on top of the boat. Also included is a handy little travel flag, so if you're, you know, trailering or you know, sticking it out of the back of your truck, you can just attach that flag on there and keep it legal. A little further back, these guys here, these are our rod tip protectors, so you can slide a fishing rod into these. There's one on each side. Got these handy little bungees here, so you can use these to secure the end of the fishing pole as it goes into the tube up there, or you could also use it to attach the paddle to the outside of the kayak. Things like the Yak Attack double header or their rod holders or paddle holders work really well and also kind of get things out of the way. So that's a nice upgrade that you could add to the kayak. Moving back here to the kind of heart of the unit, this is the new Mark IV pedal drive. It's a belt drive system, super smooth, really quiet, really efficient. It feels faster than the previous drive. It looks great. Some of the neat features on here, I mean, just the color details that they've got, you know, you can kind of see inside to the crank wheel here. You know, you've got some red accents in here. There's also a T slot or a gear track mounted on here that you could mount a camera to, or another accessory that might work well for you. The whole drive system, super easy to remove. You just take your T slots off here. What I like to do is I'll crank them down into these slots on the side so that they're always there, ready to go, and I'm not going to lose them. And this whole drive just pops right out, so you can transport it separately or store it for the winter, you know, when you're not using the boat. The Mark IV is now available for purchase separately. Now it's an entire unit. It's the upper unit and the lower unit, so you need to convert the whole thing if you're going to be switching an older Jackson boat into the new Mark IV drive. One of the really nice features that I like about the Jackson drive in particular is the fact that it can just kind of kick itself up if you run in shallow or hit a log in the water or a rock or something. So to deploy the drive, the whole system drops down like that, and you go into the deep draft position. So you're going to get your most efficiency. That prop is down nice and deep in the water, and then you can lift it up into a shallower position here. If you are in some shallow water, you're going to get a lot more water noise and cavitation happening, but it's still going to work. So if you're working in some shallower water, it's easy to use. And then you can also push it all the way up. So now it's zero draft. You're going to be paddling in this position. You can also use the access door here to clean off any weeds that maybe have built up in there, and get the drive running smoothly again. Speaking of the prop, it is fully replaceable, so if you do break something, it's easy to carry a spare one with you on the fly. It takes a small little Allen wrench back that off, put the new one on, and a new shear pin, and you're done. Inside the hull of the boat here, we do have some nice EVA foot padding to keep things quiet, also keep things comfortable. If you're going barefoot, it feels nice on the feet, and also helps absorb any sound. So if you're messing with lures and stuff like that, it's not going to echo through the hull. Lots of gear tracks set up. So we've got a couple up here. We've got a nice long one down the side and another one, and that's on both sides of the kayak. So you've got tons of options for setting up rod holders. This one is included with the kayak, as well as electronics for a transducer or your fish finder mount, multiple rod holder positions, camera holders, all that stuff. Coming back to the seat, they've also redesigned the seat for this year. It's the new high-low seat, so it works similar to the old system. It is on a track, so you can slide the seat forward and back in those tracks to figure out the trim for your feet on the pedals, but then you can also utilize it into a low position to lower your center of gravity. So if it's a windy or choppier day, you can get that seat down nice and low, creating more stability for yourself in the kayak. Having it in the elevated position is going to benefit you from a higher sight line, and also I like it up there. You got a little bit more storage underneath the seat, and it works really, really well. I find it a little more comfortable from a pedaling position being up a bit higher, but that's just personal. You might find otherwise. The seat itself, it's pretty comfortable. I mean, you can do a lot of modifications to make it more so, but I find it right out of the box not bad. Breathes really well. It wicks water away. I mean, it's not going to pool any water up here because it is using like a mesh style system. The frame seat you can attach things to. There has little clips on here. There's a little tackle bag available from Jackson that can be purchased separately that clips right onto these guys. Also lots of strapping in behind here so you can make adjustments to how firm you want this or how soft you want it. So lots of options. Here on the outside, we've got a couple of heavy duty carry handles. It is an awkward boat to try and carry one-handed this way, but if you're just kind of pulling it up out of the water, those are really handy, you know, maybe picking it up, moving it over to the side or getting your cart underneath it or whatever. These handles are really handy for that. On both sides here, our left and right, we've got our rudder control. So these guys here are what we're going to use to navigate the boat while we're pedaling, and that rudder is controlled at the back there using the 3D rudder. Really smooth system when you're pedaling. You know, one-hand operation. You can just control it left or right. Really easy to kind of maintain and track, and it works really, really well. Going a little further back, we've got scupper holes. 4 scupper holes underneath the seat, and then there's also a couple up near the pedal drive, so lots of drainage, so any water, you know, it's coming in, if it's choppy or raining or whatever, all that water is going to drain out. In the colder months, you can definitely plug those so, you know, prevent any water from coming up through those holes. Coming back, we've got this T-track right behind, or gear track right behind the seat. Awesome spot to set up a couple of rod holders, maybe hold a net, any other kind of accessories, cup holder, that type of thing. We've got our integrated rod holders here. One on each side. Really convenient. I mean, right out of the box, you've got your Yak Attack Omega rod holder. You've got your integrated rod holders. So you could potentially be carrying up to 5 rods right out of the gate with this without any extra upgrades. Moving back into our rear tank well here, great spot to put a crate. You know, the Yak Attack crate fits well in here. We've got T-track on either side. It does come rigged up with some bungee, so you can lash gear down in here. You could reconfigure all these guys. They're just on gear style cleats, so they can be loosened and tightened to adjust wherever you want to set that up. The middle ones here pop off really easily, so you can, again, lash gear down underneath of them and keep it secure. Some nice ridges all in here, so it will keep your gear dry for the most part, because all that water will pool down in between these ridges and make its way down into the scupper channels and drain out on its own. Finally, coming all the way to the back, we've got access to our rear hatch. Very similar to the front, a little bit of a smaller opening, but great for throwing some smaller dry bags and stuff into. Again, you mean so much space inside of this kayak as well as on top that you can really, really rig it up for, you know, multi-purpose adventures for sure. It also gives us access to our rudder pin. This is where our rudder connects. We've got our fiberglass rods here that connect to those rudder handles, our pin that connects and holds that rudder in place. You do want to make sure that you have that securely in place and utilizing this pin, because you don't want the rudder to pop off, you know, when you're out on the water. Don't ask me how I know, but it's happened. So make sure that you get that rudder in all the way and you insert this pin properly. And finally, all the way at the back here, we have a nice integrated carry handle. It also has the 4-bolt pattern on here, so you can install a micro power pole or a torpedo motor or something similar that utilizes that 4-bolt pattern. So really secure, great way to add some accessories onto the rear of the kayak. Underneath, we've got our 3D rudder. So nice heavy duty rudder in line with the prop. Works fairly well. I mean, it's not a super tight turning kayak by any means, but it does the job really, really well. You know, has a fairly short turning radius. The pedals, you can also paddle in reverse. So, you know, you can utilize that to make a really nice, clean, tight turn. All right, well, let's flip it over and we'll have a look at some of the hull details. Immediately, we see a nice kind of deep keel rolling all the way from the front to the back. That's going to help with stability and tracking, keeping it, you know, kind of pointing and going on course in combination with our rudder. I've got the pedal drive up right now, but you can imagine that guy there pops down, you know, good 18 inches into the water, giving us a lot of efficiency and stability. Believe it or not, having that prop down deep in the water is going to almost act like an anchor, in a sense that if you do stand up, that is going to add resistance and give you stability. So if you are standing, a good idea to have that drive down if it allows it and you're not in too shallow of water. We've got these channels here with our scuppers installed. They are kind of directional to help, you know, that splishing and splashing. It's still going to happen, but you know, the idea with that is it creates a nice efficient way for the water to travel across these holes without kind of burping, so to speak, up through those holes. Nice flared bow on the front here. You know, there's a nice shape there. So again, in choppy water, it's really going to help deflect those waves and stop them from coming over the top. As the water gets, you know, choppier, it's unavoidable. You are going to have water kind of coming over the bow. But for the most part, you know, in the conditions this guy is meant to be used in, it's going to deflect all that. One of our pro staff members, Jeff Dix, he has one of these guys and he took it out on a windy day out on Lake Ontario. And if you want to see what his experience was like, you can check the video out in the description below. Little of a spoiler alert though, he was actually pretty impressed with how well it handled out there. The hull shape on this guy is kind of similar to like a V style hull. You know, we do have these kind of pontoon style on each side, but the way that the whole hull kind of V's out there, I think is probably the best way to describe it. So we're looking at, you know, better efficiency as opposed to better stability. So creating a slightly faster kayak as opposed to the ultimate in stability. At the end of the day, I think it's a pretty good trade-off. This is a very stable kayak. It's 35 inches wide, 12 feet long, and offers, you know, really good primary stability, really good secondary stability. It definitely feels like a bit of a tank when you're paddling it compared to pedaling it, but most of these pedal drives and fishing kayaks altogether have a, you know, tendency to feel a little tankish in the water, and it's just because they're built with stability in mind. People want to be able to stand up in them. Comes in at about 107 pounds, so certainly not light, but you can definitely help save some of that weight. Removing the seat, removing the drive, that's going to shave a few pounds off. So loading this onto the roof of a vehicle, not going to be super easy, or, you know, do I suggest doing that? It's totally possible. But it's going to be better to be trailered or in the back of a truck will be the most ideal for a kayak like this. Overall, I think, you know, if you're looking for a very versatile fishing kayak, you can camp with, you can fish with, you can stand up in, it has the pedal drive that paddles well. I mean, I think Jackson's really nailed it with this guy here. This is the Kuza FD. If you're interested in more details, you can have a look at it online at frontenacoutfitters.com. You can come try one at the shop here. As always, feel free to give us a call or send us an email with any questions. Thanks a lot for watching.